So our next speaker is the founder of ETH-ACRA. She's also a part-time academic researcher, studied at the University of Liechtenstein, master's degree in information systems. I'd like to bring onto the stage Abena, with the E silent in her name. All right, come up on stage. Thank
you so much. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. I'm Abena, and I'm happy to present a topic of ongoing research which I have started beginning of this year. The topic is designing culture-sensitive hackathons for empowering African youth with Ethereum blockchain. Sorry, the image here shows on top different people all attending a hackathon. Top right, we have East Global London. One is in Mumbai, other one is East Global Lisbon, and the top right is in Bogota. People coming together, gathering, brainstorming, working on a project. Image here, you see London, Zurich, city Abidjan. Another image on top, people attending a hackathon in Accra. As well as in Accra, this is a Lagos city, and this is city of Accra. The question is, hackathons are universal. You can host them in basically any cities. As we see, what commonalities are that people come together, time restricted, working on a project with the goal mostly of winning. But as you can see on the images, the cities vastly differently. The question that comes across, should all hackathons be the same? Is there one size fits all across different cultures, cities, etc.? The question is, I don't think so, and here is why. The observations of mainly 4 different categories. People have a different way of, time perceptions is perceived differently. Communication channel differs vastly. The image on the left is a billboard that we uploaded on, I think, at the most popular intersection in Accra, advertising, hey, the hackathon is happening. After this announcement, the participation number not exploded but increased. People perceive billboard as a legitimate communication channel, which is why we advertise there. In Switzerland and Lisbon, you rarely see any billboard advertising a hackathon. Collaboration style is also vastly different. In other cultures, it's more like in Western context, a lot of people, they attend alone. Maybe they'll find someone, or they do solo hacking. In other cultures, coming together in a group, already formed as a group, is very integral part in participating in a hackathon. So they have a different concept of collaboration style, as well as competition is also perceived differently. Winning, yes, but winning in a group is paramount than just winning as a solo hacker. These are just observations that we came across from personal attending hackathons. People ask themselves, why Africa? Well, I mean, if you look at the demographics, I think this speaks volume. The African population currently is 1.4 billion. 75% are under 35 years. It's a huge, huge youth population there. Median age, 19 years. Youngest countries in the world are most in Africa. Fastest growing cities, mega cities, 17 out of the 20 are based in Africa. The expected population by 2015 is 2.6 billion. These demographics indicate there's a huge youth sector in the demographics of the African countries. And this youth, I think, if anyone can find tools in order to activate, to get the best out of it, I think it's going to win the race, basically. Why am I doing this research? Partly because I organized the ETH-ACRA last year, and I've come across several observations, and I was thinking, okay, are my observations just coincidental, or is there any scientific proof behind it? The specific questions I'm aimed to answer is what are the specific questions, how to design hackathons to empower youth. And what we talk about designing hackathons means the execution part from venue location, communication channel, how to storytelling, etc. I think the research is important because youth contribute a large contribution of youth to the African economy, as the demographic tables showed before. And the research objective is how to design culture-sensitive hackathons that cater to different cultural needs of each region. Again, the questions that we want to answer. And also we want to explain how hackathon components from hacker manual, resources, event kickoff, structure, etc. differs across cultures, and what are the findings, and the results should be that we're bringing out a playbook with the findings where we can distribute within the Ethereum community, because it's like there's no one size fits all, and in order to have effective hackathons are an integral part, not only for technical aspect, but also it enables a great entry point in the Ethereum ecosystem. It's a new way of learning about the technology as well as about the community, which is why they need to be designed best effective way in order to have the biggest impact. We decided we want to do the research on 3 different methodology. The first one is going to be an online survey where we will have different sections. For example, the first one will ask before the hackathon, what was the motivation? Why did they sign up? Intrinsic as well as extrinsic motivation. How many hackathon experience did they have before? During the hackathon, what was the overall experience that they have? How did the collaboration between the hackathon change? Was it like more top-down approach? Is it more like loose, like more decentralized? Everybody in the team is doing whatever they want to do. And the second section is after the hackathon. What is the outcome? What is the impact? The questions that we're asking are open questions, closed questions, as well as Likert Scala questions. The second part is of the interview of the methodology. It consists of doing interviews with key stakeholders, participants, sponsors. How have they perceived this? Because online survey doesn't really capture all the information that we need. And sometimes people are more open when you ask them questions because they feel more familiar, they feel more comfortable. Maybe they also don't understand the online survey perfectly well, which is why we decided to interview. And the third methodology that we're going to apply is observation, where we just sit into the hall, observe how the whole atmosphere was. We are taking field notes, just like not interrupting the people, but just having objective perspective and analyzing the whole scene. I mean, the ideal expected outcome we have summarized into 5 points. First of all, we will come up with a playbook. The playbook will consist how to design on-site Ethereum-focused hackathons to constitute accessibility, inclusiveness, impactful events for young participants. We also want to figure out which components make up a successful culture-sensitive hackathon and how to get the most out of the strategic design. We also want to learn from every unique culture for building a community. Also, will definitely have an impact on innovation. By designing hackathons which cater to the cultural needs, will definitely increase the adoption of Ethereum. Because if people are not able to, people will only use something when they have perceived usefulness. And I think this comes when you understand how people have a different concept of time, collaboration, etc. By addressing the African needs, we also might have a diverse solution that will address the Ethereum challenges. If you always host hackathons in the Western context, in Lisbon, in Paris, in London, etc., you might always have the same way of how Ethereum can be used. And I think you're missing out a huge, large population, which definitely have different challenges. The findings might, when we design hackathons in the best effective way, we also get findings of how to address regional tech ecosystem challenges, because there are other companies, they also want to do hackathons, but as of now, maybe they have not found out the right access, the right entry point, how to execute them. This will all, can be summarized, these 5 outcomes that we expect to achieve. From a scientific perspective, the contribution that we're going to have is like in terms of innovation theory. We definitely want to see like the temporality theory as well as design a hackathon that is accessible, coordinated, and also timing. Because if you do not design hackathons that cater to the cultural needs, I think you're missing out missing out the point, and you don't make the whole event accessible. Are there any questions? Like, this is just like a group overview of what we have intended. My goal here is to take in consideration what do you want to know out of this research. It's an ongoing research we have started, but we are still able to cater to feedback from participants. What are you most interested? What do you think? Is there something that I have not listed up that you think might be of your interest? And maybe we can also cater to the questions. Yeah. I leave the stage to the audience. Any questions? Interest points? Yeah, sure.
So what are the main differences in the structure of hackathons in different cultural areas? Like how you are organizing it, the time schedule mainly, and things like that?
As of now, what we have observed is, for example, the hackathons that we organized in Ghana we started on a Thursday morning, we ended on Saturday. Sundays is a no-go. It's reserved for family, gathering, etc. So if you do anything on a Sunday, people will not show up. And this was a huge eye-opener. For me, it's like, today is Saturday. If I had a talk tomorrow, I will do it. And this is bear this cultural difference in mind. And also we had hackathon where we started in the morning, we closed in the evening because it was like in the venue hall. Not like sleeping there overnight is something that is not very culturally embedded. So it was just like a different approach. It was a hackathon, but vastly different than the hackathon I experienced when I went to London 2 months ago. And also, how should I say? It's like people have a higher sense of collaboration. Team is very important. Nobody came up without having a team already formed. It's like, and it's something like when I hack, I just go sign up. I hack with different people, different cities all the time. But I think I'm more like culture maybe. So I grew up here, but someone who maybe grew up more like in other region. It's just like how they feel comfortable, and I think it's important to have this sensitivity, like awareness of this. Yeah. Does it answer your question? Any other question?
Hi, and thank you. This is really fascinating to imagine the hackathons in Africa. And I guess it's just, you're also like on top of an iceberg, which also include leapfrogging of technology in some regions. And so I just wonder, like, since Africa is so big, so diverse, so many different kind of communities, how do you imagining this continuing? And maybe like in also like in rural regions, or, you know, I'm very naive in my questions here, but
No, but interesting question. We will start first in West Africa, Ghana, and Nigeria, because this is where, how should I say, most on-site hackathons have been executed so far. And also this region, Ghana, Nigeria, have similar cultural framework, both English-speaking countries, both in West Africa. I think that's where we start. We will also have a different data sample for Eastern region Africa. That's why it's not Africa as a whole, it's different on a region, because I've lived in Cape Town, and Cape Town is a complete different scenario. And also French-speaking countries, Francophone countries, is also a whole new topic. So from a scientific approach, you cannot transfer the findings that you find in Western Africa one-to-one to the Eastern African context. But we will have regional findings, observations, and also stating in the research that the playbook is not one size fits all. Again, it's based on the region where we can draw the findings are transferable. Does it answer your question? Yes. Yeah. I mean, if you have more questions, go for it. Sure.
I'm also curious about Ethereum's motivation, and could you answer that? Or how much is Ethereum doing in Africa and so on?
Interesting question. They are there, but how should I say? It is. I mean, I don't really have numbers compared to, for example, Binance or Algorand. I think Binance is more there from a end user point, but I think from a developer point perspective, I don't really have figures. But Ethereum, it's there. It's more distinct. How should I say? But the ecosystem is growing. It's in its infancy, but yeah, I think by this research will definitely help addressing the challenges, addressing the goal, because I mean, the Ethereum slogan is the infinite garden, and I think the garden in West Africa is different than the garden here in Eastern Europe, as well as the garden in West Africa. And I think it's not one size fits all. It's best to understand how the garden in West Africa works by paying attention, and based on that, you can design hackathons that are actually effective. Otherwise, you will definitely lose out. Any other questions? I hope by next year, so I can present the findings. But data collection takes time.
So this is maybe not a question, but sort of question and suggestion. But first, a remark that if you look at all the big crypto conferences that you can think of, they're all in basically Europe and the US, and then occasionally you've got Dubai and Singapore. But Singapore in the end is not really Asia. It's a very special case, right? And I think there was one big Ethereum conference in Shanghai at one stage. But in the end, it's basically Europe, US, Singapore, Dubai. I don't think there was ever any huge of a conference, like international conference in Africa, as far as I know. Maybe there was.
Not yet.
So I would say, as far as I know, Vitalik is still here. You should probably grab him and say, "Hey, guy, let's do a big conference in Africa someday." I mean, it's a continent. Yeah, and that's the first thing. And the second is, in the context of hackathons. Okay, again, hackathons. It's the same with the big hackathons. Are not in Africa. So I think a goal should probably be to say, well, can we somehow get, I mean, I'm sure there are hackathons, but I suspect not many Europeans or Americans or others are going to these hackathons in Africa, right?
Not yet. I mean,
Right.
I think that's why this is the second edition is happening again this year. Yes, we need to make more advertisement, and
Yeah,
I think I'm
right.
definitely advocating that next DevCon should be held. I think we have this DevCon end of November in Bangkok. In 2 years, maybe next year DevConnect, but the next DevCon should definitely be held in any major African city, Nairobi,
Right.
Accra, etc.
That's why I say grab Vitalik.
Yes,
And
I
even
will.
for a
I will
hackathon.
make I will personally do advocacy. Yes.
Yeah, and this, I mean, to get people in hackathons, there's not just telling them there is one Accra. You need the support. I mean, if you can get, say, okay, someone like Vitalik or some of the big names will be there, then some people from Europe and the US or Asia will come. If you don't have that, they will not come. So, yeah.
Definitely. I mean, we did last year, we had like Ethereum Foundation was there, the Graph was there, Beetle Guild were there. Some names are there, and this year more will follow. But I think, that's why I'm doing this research to just increase awareness and preaching the gospel, and hopefully 2026 DEFCON is going to happen in a major African city. I hope you will also attend.
Thank you, Abena.
Thank
Greatly
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.